If the audio is jacked, I don't care.
That's your opening, yeah?
The mic was acting strange, and if it affects you, I don't care because this isn't for you.
Wow. If technical difficulties bother you, you're in the wrong place.
Well, I'm pretty sure you've gotten used to it by now.
Well, that's probably accurate.
I mean, if you thought it'd get better, I don't know why. Bought yourself into a sunk cost fallacy there. They've made over 200 videos now. They'll get better, surely. You overestimate the effort we put in.
But that's what makes it great.
Says you.
Well, yes. I've always hated this level. I'm just gonna.
How do you know this level?
Just gonna come out.
Because we didn't.
Okay, are you serious?
We didn't finish this game the first time we played it, so I don't.
We did.
We didn't.
We did.
I know for certain we didn't.
I'm very certain you're wrong. Either that, or I finished it on my own in a different context,
Someone
which would
else
be very
cheated
bizarre.
on me.
I clearly.
How do we skip this though? I don't.
How do we skip it? We build a bridge and get past it together, hand in hand. First step is rebuilding trust.
I'm not sure I recognize this level, so I don't know what you're referring to.
I don't like the
Captain, I've lost him.
the shrubbery nonsense. That I
The
have
flood?
to-
The flood's been in every
No,
level.
I'm not talking about the flood.
We're not in that though. I don't think this is that. Well, that's probably too loud. I don't have my. Hang on.
Oh dear. Oh, hi.
That's
You're
my
not a
entry
friend.
for explaining how you feel without words.
Here you go. You just grunt. Oh.
Yeah, but grunts have
That's
different
a pig-
flavors.
That's a. Okay, I wouldn't call it. Okay, it's Mr. Mushroom Man. Okay.
Do you know the mushroom man? The mushroom man
Have you been groped by the mushroom man?
will grope you in your bum.
Oh dear, I don't think they go for your bum, do they?
Well,
It's more
I
like
mean,
the
they-
face. They're like those.
Well,
Okay.
well, he did, and he did, and he did. How'd you go
seeing
like?
like,
Ah!
Oh dear. Okay.
Said mushrooms gonna
He's
come.
already had to deal with. Oh.
Said mushrooms gonna come. Probe you in your coconut. And they did. Whoa! Hello.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, what are those?
Well, my failure was such that the game couldn't
I think
take
that's
it.
actually what happened. Yeah, remember? That's what's supposed to happen.
Oh, well then I take all credit.
Wow, we've already done this.
I don't
bit.
remember.
UK.
Here's the thing. We're like
I
we were-
apparently am in the middle of.
we were so far ahead on these that I stopped editing them for a long time, and now we got a big backlog, and now I got to edit them because the backlog's run out. Not the backlog, but like the stuff we had already done was run out, and so I have no clue where we were or who I am.
Well,
Whoop.
sometimes
I do know that I
happens.
performed some level of contortionism in that ragdoll that should win some Guinness record.
Was it, are you a what is it? Are you not a gymnast? What's the word I'm looking for?
What's a contortionist?
What are those? Oh yeah. You already said that.
480 rounds for an assault rifle? From who? Myself, I guess? 480 rounds, that's a lot.
Seems like a lot until you blow through.
Well, I guess 60 per clip. How many? 48 divided by 60? 80? 8.
8.
Not 80 clips, 8 clips.
8 clips. That's a lot.
I mean, that's actually pretty reasonable, I guess. Military guys, I don't know what they carry.
What they carry? Slotty bugfusties.
What? What? I have no clue where that came from.
It's from. It was in my head because of the previous reference because it's from Hitchhiker's Guide.
That was not my reference.
It's the. Oh.
See, I wasn't even exactly referencing anything. The closest thing to what I was thinking was the Strong Bad.
You.
Well, no, it was the computer after that. I forget what they call it because the Lappy was the laptop. It was the
Compy.
Yeah, the Compay.
Yeah.
It was the.
It's the Compay.
I don't know where I'm going.
There's a character in that movie where they're asking his name. Arthur asks his name, and he goes, "My name is Slotty Bugfuss." And
I only watched that
then he
once.
looks at him like, "What?" And he goes, "I said it wasn't important."
Well, ow. That was rude.
Can you stop using that shotgun on me? That'd be
Oh,
great.
hey, I'll take it.
Can you?
Give to me. Why? He's not dead!
While you're dealing with him, I'm just out here taking his gun.
Where's his shotgun? I don't see it. Did he drop it in the water?
I took it.
Well, I'm going to take you.
Take me.
Oh, we're getting shot at. Yo.
Okay. Take
Boy,
me
he
to
blew it.
the river.
I don't want to be taken to this river.
Drop me in the water.
This is a nasty river. Old man River's not feeling too well. Alrighty.
I'm so freaking tough. I'm so freaking I'm having those randomly pop up on my feeds again, and it's like, what?
Mushroom man. Oh, lots of mushroom men. Ah, mushroom men for days. There's an unused sequel title for you. We've already gone through all the generic, like Revolution, Reloaded, Retribution, all the RE words. How about we just start getting creative? Just, I don't know, John Wick 1, John Wick 2 for days. Whoa!
I have no more bullets in this.
In the shot, you just got that shotgun.
Not the shotgun, weirdo. The assault rifle I was using was.
Yeah. This guy's having a spasm that's unlike his normal spasm.
Never prematurely shooting my load.
I think you needed to commit more to the melody for that to not sound strange. I don't think people.
I wanted it to sound strange.
I don't think anybody got the reference. Oh, it's the mushroom orgy.
Okay, that didn't need to follow what I just said.
Ouch! They're shooting green stuff.
What about that? Eat it.
I'm not going down there alone. You're just gonna sit up on the hill and I guess if I had the shotgun I'd consider it, but I don't. Alright, fine. Kamikaze strike. Into the pus water. Ew. Okay, I can't swim.
I'm taking people out for you, so
Can't
you're welcome.
swim. Considering I weigh over 1,000 pounds, that's actually entirely sensible. And probably should have been considered. Actually, that's a valid question. Am I even... Do I automatically sink, or can I... Huh. So this is not like a game in which you can have your swimming mechanics. It's literally just I'm sitting at the bottom of the lake. That's, I suppose, realistic. Anybody else have a shotgun? I would like it. I guess not. We got a topic that's not heady,
so well,
but
yes,
could potentially be deep.
It's delightful. It's a topic.
How do you know what topic I have?
Well, oh, you have a topic. I thought you said, "Can we find a topic?"
Oh no, I said.
So
well,
I
mean,
thought, here we are.
I said I had one. It's probably. I don't know if it'll be a long-winded one. So,
Okay,
but
well,
here's the thing: why does every man secretly love Doc Holliday? Or not so secretly, I guess. It's not always a secret. But why is it a universal?
because it's the classic kind of cool as a cucumber, but also not cool in like the sense of like, oh, he's like glasses, like cool guy kind of a thing, but cool in that
Glasses.
Meaning.
That's your definition of a cool guy.
No, I'm trying to differentiate or delineate between that and like cool at meaning.
Oh,
like,
there's a shotgun in the water.
calm under pressure. That's what I was meaning by cool.
There was a shotgun in the water and I can't get it.
Shotgun in the water. I can't see jack crap right now.
I don't think Jack wants you to see that. Jack, I want to see your crap.
But I mean, it's the whole calm under pressure thing.
Yeah, but is that it? Because I think there's an element of a kind of tragicness to him. At least that's what appealed to me.
Explain.
Well, the line, I guess I'm assuming everyone understands what we're talking about because I recently watched Tombstone. And
Which is a great movie.
yes, it is, and I
Not
knew of
for
it.
the reasons I thought it would be, but
What did you
still
think the
good.
reasons were?
I mean, I was expecting a little bit more of a classic.
Well, you were expecting more
Western.
Clint Eastwoody. It's pretty
Yeah,
classic Western,
it
but it's
is,
a good Western.
But it's
'Cause
like,
here's
it
my.
wasn't quite as shoot 'em up as I was maybe
It was a
expecting.
little bit heavy in the shoot 'em up. Not mindless, but I mean, it was not without shoot 'em up. Plenty of guys get shot up if that's what you're asking for.
Well, I wasn't asking for that. I just was like, oh, there's
'Cause here's-
actually.
'cause
I suppose
have you
maybe
ever
I should
watched
say
the
it this
actual
way. There's
Clint
an
Eastwood?
actual development of story more than I thought there would be.
Well, but see,
Because most spaghetti westerny kind
yeah,
of
but
things
that's not.
are-
That's the thing is that they're not all that way.
Well, and that's the thing.
Like
You have to
the Clint Eastwood
differentiate-
style Western was
Yeah,
its own
the actual
thing.
spaghetti western.
And I
versus,
wasn't- I'm
like,
not
an
fond
actual
of them
western.
exactly.
Neither was I.
And
I
to be
agree.
perfectly honest, it's mostly just that they're
They're thin. Everything.
not even just that. They're
Okay,
actually,
pal.
Okay,
You and I are gonna.
they're without. Okay,
I'm
trying to think of a
about die.
diplomatic way
Run
to say
in
this.
with the devil.
What? There's a way I'm trying to be diplomatic, but basically they're just not well made.
Well,
That was the thing that struck me, is that it's just like, okay, these are actually really kind of shoddy.
Pal. Okay. I don't even have bullets left, so now he
I'll
just
take your
gets
shotgun if I can. I'll preserve it for you.
He just gets the. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the
Okay, why am I? There's no shotgun for me.
sniper rifle
Shotgun
says no.
for me. Shotgun for you.
Let's use the shotgun on this guy. I don't know.
This guy wants to sell me something. Anyways, yeah, that's Clint. The Clint Eastwood ones, they just come across as shoddy is the best way. And I don't mean that. I mean, I'm trying to be sensitive to the fact that I know that they're old movies, but that doesn't.
I knew it was old, you.
But
fool.
like the '60s, not every movie was that shoddy in the '60s. Like that, it's distractingly.
I would love to actually know whether you can see through this gook.
No, you can't. You're not meant to be in the gook. I've spawned in the gook because of you.
Ah!
That's what I said to my mother when I was born.
That was uncalled for.
I was a precocious child. Not out 5 minutes, and I went, now what's the deal with all of this?
What's the deal? That makes it sound like a Seinfeld. Right? What's the deal with all this go?
What's the deal with... I forget the name of this. What's the fluid called?
Amniotic.
Yeah. I died in the gook because of you!
This amniotic fluid! George!
See, the funny thing is, I was going to go to a Foghorn Leghorn thing, but that's,
Awesome.
that's only because of the memes that have been going around of him recently.
Awesome.
Now, here's a totally separate aside, because I've never commented on it before, but your strange love of the Rhino on a Wednesday phrase,
I wouldn't say that's a strange love.
you say it frequently. So the question I have is,
When I don't know
Is it
that that's
a
I
Foghorn
wouldn't agree
Leghornism?
with that description.
you've said it multiple times, and I've never commented on it, mostly because
I
it's
don't know that I have said it all that often. I mean, it is a phrase
enough
I
that
say.
enough that I recall it. Enough that it's
Are you sure it's not just because you don't hear it anywhere else?
well, okay, but if you're the only person I'm hearing it from, and I've heard it more than once, then you can be the only
So,
person saying it.
so two times is
It's
your
been more than two. I mean,
is
I'm
your
not.
vector for that.
It's more than two. I don't know how many, but it's enough that I'm commented. Why is my screen blurry and
saying,
yours
like,
is not?
I don't know.
Why am I like sick?
Perhaps
It's because of
you're
the gook. But is it a foghorn leghornism is my main question.
It wasn't for me, no.
Well,
It was just something my
it's not for
dad
you.
said.
Okay,
So
well,
I
where
said
did...
it.
So you don't even know where it comes from.
No, I just picked it up.
Okay, is this just going to stay this way? Because,
You're drunk.
like... Well, but why aren't you?
Look at the corners. The flood are gathering bodies here. Why?
Why are you... Why am I...
Ah!
afflicted?
He wants to gather my body. This is your
There we go.
body, and
Old
you-
graphics saved me.
What?
Let's see if new
was
graphics are
that?
going to screw me. So, the new graphics just decide I get to be blind today. Alright, everybody, we're going retro for the sake of my eyesight. Because
It
apparently
doesn't bother me at all. I actually prefer the retro vibes for the sake of ease of being able to see where you're going.
Well,
Like, this is far more easy to discern than...
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, it is for me because I'm not afflicted with whatever that disease of my eyes was. What's the name of it? I don't know. I was about to say colitis, which has nothing to do with your eyes.
I think you're talking about
Glaucoma, there you go.
glaucoma. I got glaucoma!
But anyways,
He looked even more like Mushroom Man.
well, fair enough. Gotten a whole bunch of sidetracked. So that's what I was going to ask, is because I've been watching clips of that.
A foghorn?
Yeah, because apparently
I mean, it would
he's
make
become
sense
a
that
meme
my
lately
dad-
on Twitter, and so a
Why
bunch
is
of
that,
YouTube.
though?
I don't know. Who knows how memes
I
come and
think
go?
more than likely that would track because my dad did grow up with Warner Brothers being like the big.
Because
thing.
all I remember is there was a bunch of compilations of him on YouTube that were going around because of his resurgence in popularity. And one of the one I don't know why this one struck with me, because it's not actually that inherently funny or random. Well, it's a little random, but I don't. The one that struck me was, I say that dog is lower than a snake full of buckshot. And I don't know why that struck me as funny. Because I don't know what it even means. And maybe that's why I found it funny.
Buckshot, meaning he's already been shot.
Well, I don't...
Lower than a snake that's already been shot.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't make much sense.
Okay.
So I don't
You
know
can't
why
just
that...
come up to somebody and
But it was as I was here,
Talk
as I was
back
going
the
through that whole compilation of
jack.
like his various weird quotes that I was like, you know, that sounds like something that could have been straight from him. Because it's about the
well,
only,
it
it's about the only person I could imagine saying it.
I mean, it would make sense.
Anyways, back to the backtrack before the backtrack. Clint Eastwood films. It's not even.
Doc
It's not
Holliday.
Clint Eastwood's fault. It was what's his director's fault.
Let's go back to Holiday.
Well, we'll get back to him in the end because he deserves the proper rundown. I was just saying, I don't disagree with your assessment that the spaghetti western is in some ways I think inferior, and I think I try to be sensitive to films when they're old, but I don't think that's an excuse because it wasn't old enough to justify how janky it
Spaghetti
is.
westerns are a little bit, I would say,
'Cause it's
they
essentially
are
like the dubbing is
American equivalent
really
of like
bad.
a wire fu movie,
Yeah,
which is like.
but they're not even
everything is-
American. They were Italian.
Spaghetti westerns?
Why do you think they're called that? You think we're just love spaghetti and westerns?
No, I mean, I just never put that together that was
Yeah.
the Italian Americans that put those together.
Well,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
no, not even Italian Americans. Like Sergio Leone was an Italian director.
But I mean, what's the? Yeah.
It
didn't
does, that's the
realize
thing is it's weird because like most of the people on the set didn't speak English, which is why everything's dubbed really terribly. And it's just I found it distracting because it's not just it's an old movie. It's like this is a little bit shoddy.
There's a load of barnacles.
I will say I have not seen the full Man with No Name trilogy, but a fist for a few dollars more is better than a fistful of dollars. I'll say that. I have not yet seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
You just made up a new movie called A Fistful of a Few More Dollars.
A fistful of a few good, bad, and ugly dollars. Or rather, a good fist.
A good fist.
A good fist.
A fistful
Ugly full of bad dollars.
A fistful of good men.
What was a good fist full of bad, ugly dollars? I don't know. But Tombstone.
3 times an ugly duckling.
What? Whoa! I
time
fell in the sewer.
I'm swimming in.
Yes, sir.
the
Yes, sir. 3
sewer.
bags full. 3 fists full. I don't know how that works mechanically speaking. I've got 2 fists full, and then I stuffed a corpse's fist full of dollars as well.
Wow.
But anyway, Tombstone, much better movie. And
I loved it.
Here's the
I
thing,
really
Doc
did.
Holliday's not the main character, which I didn't know going into it, because the only character anyone ever talks about from the movie is Doc Holliday. So
Oh,
I thought
he's
it's a
great.
movie about Doc Holliday.
No, not
And
at
it's
all.
not really.
Like,
And
it's
yet
not.
it may as well be, because he's the best.
Well, he is the
The
best.
question is, why does every man like him so much? Why is he the icon
well,
that
I
he
guess
is?
I can just tell you why I liked him.
Well, that's, I'm being hypothetical. I don't actually think you know what every man thinks.
Well, sometimes
It's not like we're women.
not like we're trying to talk to women. I am curious what your thoughts on the whole sadness bit. You mentioned.
Well,
the bit
well,
of
okay, were you
kind
going
of-
to give your opinion first?
Well, no.
You just said you were.
I wanted to listen to what you. 'cause
Well,
you
here's
took
the
it in a
line that
different
struck
direction.
me the most. Because obviously I don't disagree with your concept of him being a...
Like, I certainly don't not see what you're saying when it comes to kind of the tragic hero.
Well, I mean, obviously he's the only one who... well, no, I was going to say he's the only one who dies. That's not the case, but he is the only one who dies.
Hey, I didn't
In
realize
a-
that somebody was sitting there tugging on the glass.
That's an awful... That sounds terrible when you say it out of
And
context.
he was sucking on the glass.
Get out, Polyp! Anyways.
Where's my...
So
So-
it's the line that struck me the most, because obviously the famous line is the "I'm your Huckleberry" line, which is great. But
I'll be Huckleberry. Now, see, I loved the line where it was like, oh, this isn't about revenge. Make no mistake. It's a reckoning. Like, that was my favorite. It's like, oh, yes.
well, he did have great lines just all through the movie. But the one, and it's not because of the line, it's just because I think it portrays his character well, and perhaps I'm about to reveal something just going to probably give you a psychological profile for me. But the line that struck me the most is towards the end when, after the brother's been killed and Wyatt's basically on the rampage, and so he's one of like the posse that's hunting down the rest of the gang. And one of the guys asked him, because this is as he's like seriously ill with tuberculosis at this point in the film. I guess we're spoiling things. But one of the guys in the crew basically asked him, you should be resting. Why is it you're doing this? And he says, because Wyatt Earp's my friend. And the guy says, hell, I've got lots of friends. And then Doc just says, I don't. Not in a mopey way, but in a just kind of a
like
genuine,
Sorry, that's not how I... Yeah.
and it's just the moment where you go, okay, they do a good job of sort of showing that his attitude is a little bit of a front, I think. At least that's how I kind of interpret the character. Because he's as capable as the rest of them in terms of, fighting ability. But he's definitely got more of the kind of bravado and swagger a little
Yeah,
bit.
but he doesn't... I wouldn't say it's like a measuring kind of...
No, it's not in a machismo. It's just very much... I think they portray him as a kind of cavalier guy, but then in that scene, I think you start to realize that that's a bit of a show. It's a bit of an act.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I can't speak for all men either, but I wonder if that's part of what makes him more interesting than the other characters, is that there's that element of...
Well, I will say this. It is true that men... This is, I think, universally true, and I can speak to this because even just what you see men uniting around or like saying, yes, we totally all feel this, is this notion of having to be strong at the expense of being heard. And it's like, that sucks a lot. And so being able to reveal that side of Doc where it's like, oh yeah, I mean, he's definitely, he's definitely a like no nonsense, he's going to get the job done, and he's very like, again, cool under pressure. However, he's still very much got humanity that, reveals a deeper level of feeling and even, I don't know what to call it, maybe emotional acuity than he originally
He's actually
kind of...
seemingly one of the most
Grounded.
I don't know about that. He certainly seems to be one of the more educated of them. Like the whole, I love the scene in the pub when he's basically sparring with the other guy in Latin,
Right.
and then that's the whole. I've decided I hate him. It's just like that. He's clearly one of the more. I don't want to say intelligent, but educated, I guess, for at the very least. And maybe it's I think, and again, I'm probably projecting, but there's an appeal to the kind of suave attitude he puts off, where it's like not only is he as capable as the other guys, but he's got a kind of I don't know what the word is. How would you describe him? Because I don't know. You're right in that it's not machismo, but it is definitely a kind of swaggerish.
But it's confidence. It's
not just that though.
It's genuine.
Because he's got
grace under pressure, kind of a
but
thing.
it's a sort of banter that he's got.
Well, that's true.
That the others
he's got a very
don't.
sharp wit. Yes, that's true. Because I mean, even when he's like,
So I would be.
like I was just kidding. I was fooling earlier.
I wasn't. Yeah, but I don't know.
It's like the classic saying the right thing in the moment.
Sure, and I guess maybe it's as simple as that. But I also think, so there's that appeal to him where we all wish, especially I think as men, that not only could you be as capable as the others, but to be as...
Sharp, yeah.
Yeah, as sharp's a good word for it. But then, in addition to that, I think the very fact that people desire that...
You know, your butt's looking really great right there.
You look good, soldier. Smack. I think the very fact, or rather, the kind of people who wish that they had that level of charisma and competence are also probably the same kind of people who would feel that same loneliness in a sense.
Well, yeah.
So I almost wonder if it's a double whammy of it's like not only is he an aspirational character, but he's also a relatable character, because if you had the competence and charisma he had, you also would probably have the underlying... Because at least the way I interpret him is that it's maybe not be fair to call it like a facade, because I don't think it's inherently fake, but it seems a cultivated persona.
It's indicative of those kinds of people, the strong, silent type, if you will, to be misunderstood maybe at some level. Like, I mean, even look at somebody like, just simply because this recently obviously has been a thing with him
found
passing
some
away,
sort of prolapsed chicken.
But like Theoden in Lord of the Rings, it's very similar in that he's got.
But he didn't have the same.
I think he did, but
I don't think he did. Theoden had much more of a serious. He was not. He had a lot of good lines, but they were not the kind of lines. Because the thing about Doc was that he almost had a fake blaseness about it, where he was sort of, I mean, he's constantly drunk and he's always sort of acts like, oh, I just, I don't care. But he obviously does. So this is quite disturbing, actually. Do I gotta shoot this
the
thing?
motherweed.
Okay. Mushroom men for days.
What just happened to me? I got so destroyed by the flood that I started breakdancing in my boots.
In your boots. Do you grasp what I'm trying to get at? Am I making any sense?
I agree with you. I think
he had a feigned cavalierity. I don't know if that's a word, but he had this sense where you kind of... He acts as if he's sort of...
Blasé-faire.
Yeah, blasé about everything, and he doesn't really care, but he obviously does. And I think that that's a cultivated... Rather than perhaps fake, I think it's a cultivated...
That I would agree.
Thing.
I like that.
He has
word
cultivated that
I
kind of a
would
facade.
say that is something that you have to, and I have.
But he also underlying that cultivated facade is the But I don't have actually very many.
Correct.
Real friends.
But here's the thing. I think when you become that kind of a man, because I would argue, it either will never happen to you because you never have the kind of you never have the kind of experiences that force you to become that, which great for you. I think that if you never have to deal with that, great.
This is hard.
But if you do have to cultivate that in yourself, it's something that unfortunately comes with the cost of not being able to, how do you say it? It's not that you're self insulating, but it's there's a degree in which you can't interact with humanity on a broad level the same way you did. And so there's a trade-off in that Doc has this kind of cool factor down, and he's cultivated this under pressure, not giving a crap about anything, but at the same time it comes at the expense of saying, well, unfortunately not a lot of people get that, and I don't have very many friends.
So basically what we're saying is
if you don't have very many friends, this is a place for you.
If a guy tells you his favorite movie is Tombstone, you should
give him a hug.
Well, probably. I mean,
it
probably fair enough.
I truthfully just think that this is why I say it's a universal, is because I think that all men truthfully need a hug. Well, it's like the whole.
Okay.
I just
not
dropped
from
off.
Weird mushroom aliens though. I'd like them to not hug me. They're getting a little too huggy.
I was teasing about the that one pop culture thing that was going around where it was like the lady that was asking, "Are men okay?" And the one guy's like, "Nope, every day we're struggling." It's very true. It's like, by and large, men keep a lot of our struggles to ourselves, and the reality is when you do that, in my experience, now correct me if I'm wrong, if this was your experience, I think when I initially began to take things on and start kind of shouldering things on my own, it started as a bit of an experiment to say, I've heard for my entire life that essentially I overshare, which is okay, that's fine. And so I got to the point that I was so sick of both hearing that, and I unfortunately walked through some things that really, on a very cold and sterile level, taught me some hard truths. And I went, okay, I'm going to have to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. So, which is not a bad thing, but in the walking through that, I learned that that's kind of what people expected.
I don't know if it's fair to say that that's what they expect. What I would say is
no one apologizes or concerns themselves with if you have. How do I?
I also don't know that I'd make sweeping statements like no one will care or things like that.
No, it's not even
the way I would say it is the difficulty,
thinking.
The trouble lies in the fact that if you, I'm not sure how to put it actually into a
it's
sentiment.
difficult to.
But it's essentially the argument that once you become that way, there isn't really any going back.
Well, and it's difficult to codify because I guess what I'm saying is not no one cares as much as it is.
Well, it's a bit of the if you choose not to be a squeaky wheel, don't expect any grease.
Right. That is a very good statement.
And there's an element of dignity to saying I'm not gonna be a squeaky wheel because I just don't want to be that. I don't want that to be who I am as a person.
Correct.
It was just this.
But I think
constantly whining and needing affirmation.
There's a part of me that wishes that people were a little bit more.
Well, yeah, you'd wish it's a bit of
maintenance, but
yeah. It's I mean, there's a wish, and again, it's a fine line because you don't want to be saying you don't want to be. You can't be bitter by saying, well, nobody ever offered me help when I didn't ask for it. It's like, well, that's fair enough.
Right.
But it's also an understandable sentiment. Like the lyric, dig into my angsty teen years and quote Breaking Benjamin. But the one song that I think encapsulates it well is called...
Larry, what's it called?
I'm forgetting the name of it. Because the lyric I remember, but I want to actually get the name right. I think it's called Lie to Me. I could be wrong. But the lyric I like is the chorus when he says, as fast as I run, would you catch me for once? And it's like, that is simultaneously a thing you feel bad for feeling, because it's like, it's unfair.
Yeah.
But you also do kind of wish that it would happen. And it's a sort of a vicious cycle.
Right, and you're right in saying you can't be bitter. That's what I've the growth track that I've been on has been one of, hey, this is going to be the new pattern I choose, and then having to go, unfortunately, because I've chosen this pattern. Well, it's what I said earlier. There's trade-off. You know, you are glad that you're no longer the person that is, you know, griping for things and being the squeaky wheel, but at the same time, there are moments that it's like, well, the trade-off is that, unfortunately, I don't get grease as often. Now, it's not never, but if you're not making much noise, people aren't going to be like, oh, that wheel needs some attention.
Well, when I wrote in a journal entry, I once wrote the phrase, people don't notice long suffering until you've suffered long.
Right.
And it's like that because people don't appreciate that you don't add to chaos.
Right.
Because not adding to chaos is a thing people don't notice.
It's a thankless job.
And you can't actually subtract chaos, really.
But that...
Like, the best you can do is not add to it, and that's, of course, something that no one notices.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at when
Or
it comes
most,
to what the draw
most
of-
people don't notice. It takes some sophisticated emotional intelligence to
Yes,
understand that someone is deliberately attempting to avoid adding to the
That's
chaos.
correct. And I would 100% agree that you can't say it's everybody, because I've even experienced that there are people that will see it. Especially if I can even make this an encouraging statement for
Good
anybody
grief.
that is walking through this. Especially other people that have walked through it will see it and go, "Hey, I see the progress you've made. I see the efforts or the kind of contributions you're making to not being a part of this or being better at managing this." So there are people that are going to see you. And I do think that the reality is not.
This is way harder than any other part of the game.
It just comes with the cost. Every form of choice that you make is going to have ramifications, obviously, but choosing to go down a path of saying, like, I'm going to be this collected and very intentional individual, I think just intentional is a good word for it, does come with the weight of...
Okay, so I found that the secret to this is having a shotgun.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That makes it significantly easier.
It does come with the weight of
Well, the way I once described
standing
it,
up
again,
under that, you know.
I don't remember in what context, but I described it. Whoa, hello, fellas. Oh, I think he got me on that sticky. We didn't. If you choose not to give your opinion unless it's asked for, you'll realize then
Not very many people
how
care about
how
your
many
opinion.
people want it.
Exactly.
It's
Which
like- and
hurts, but
Well,
only for a little bit until you realize that it's actually freeing. It for me, it was like,
there's
oh,
free.
okay.
Well, maybe if you're someone who, I guess, in a balancing sort of way, it can be freeing. I mean, if you are inherently like that, though, I'm not a person who gives opinions generally, because I'm of the opinion that most people don't care.
Right.
Not just about me. I mean, I just think like the world isn't around.
No,
doesn't
exactly.
revolve around
Most
you.
people.
So I mean, it used to be common etiquette to say unless someone asks, don't give them your opinion.
Right.
So, if
I
anything,
don't think that's a bad thing, actually, because what it does.
well, no, and it also there is an element of there is freedom in some ways the Stoic principle of not everything is demanding a judgment from you.
Right.
Like you don't actually have to respond to everything that happens, and that can be freeing if you're someone who feels like you have to. But at the same time,
Silence communicates so much information, it's not even funny.
well, but the thing is, it doesn't always. You'd
well,
wish it would.
It does, for anybody's listening.
Okay, but I can't help but feel like that's a bit of a useless statement.
Maybe.
It's like, it communicates to those who listen. It's like, well, yeah, but if no one's listening, then it's not communicating.
Well, then why does it matter?
Well, the question is, does it?
It doesn't. Yes, you're correct. Which is why I've just, you come to the realization that not... How do I... Again, it's the whole concept of and notion of not everybody's looking at you. In fact, very few people are.
No one's looking for you, kid.
You know? And that's good. but
Sure,
also
it's
bad.
well, but see, it's freeing. It's freeing to people who maybe felt that, like people who had this anxiety about it and thought that that they had to have a certain standard because people were watching. But at the same time, if it isn't a restorative, like if it isn't, what's the word, remedial, then, and you're just used to that because you're naturally like that, then it does feel a little bit less
What do you mean
freeing.
by remedial? I mean,
In the sense that if you're someone who is constantly anxious about the opinions of others and things like that, and you have a lack of peace in yourself because of that, it can be freeing to come to the realization that nobody cares about you. Because
right.
you're like, oh gosh, I've been so worried about, stuff that didn't matter. So it is freeing in that sense, but it's only freeing in that you were in an unhealthy state before. Whereas if you are naturally a person who doesn't have that level of concern or care about the opinions of others, there's a part of you that wishes people would care more.
It makes people... The thing is, it makes people listen less, but it also makes people listen more.
I don't
Does that
agree.
make
See,
sense?
that's the thing is that I wouldn't agree with that. That's what you think.
No,
you hope
it
would happen.
does. No, because I've
I think maybe
experienced this.
maybe that's in the sense that you've gone from being one to the other. But I think if you start the other way, people don't notice.
To me,
Because the way you'd want it
makes
to work
people-
is, well, if I say less than you think
things
economically,
you
like
say more.
everything I say will be more important, and therefore
Exactly.
people will listen. But the fact of the matter is that may not be the case. They may just get used to you not talking much.
well, that's certainly true too.
But if you're, so I
I
think
would
it's
still say
easier.
your words carry more weight and value at that point because
But see, I wouldn't agree though, because words, like any economic thing, have only the value others really place on them.
sure.
And obviously,
I suppose
it's not to
that's-
say that your own value doesn't matter. Like you can say, for my own, the way I value it myself, is valid as well.
Well, but wouldn't you want to invest them intentionally at that point? I mean, if
Sure, but that
being
doesn't.
the
But I'm
question-
saying the hope that you would have is if I say less, people will listen more because they'll. I don't know what you.
I
I
feel
guess
like
you're.
I've experienced that.
I think maybe the reason is because you've made a more drastic, deliberate change.
Versus
Whereas I think if you are someone who already is a relatively
had that
private
proclivity.
person, saying less just means people won't listen anymore because they're used to not hearing you. So saying less just
Interesting.
means they'll get more used to it. I think if it's a noticeable shift, then people will detect that's like, oh, this is a change that I've noticed, and therefore I should perhaps pay attention.
Yeah.
If it's not that much of a change, I don't think people notice.
Well, it's just given me, like, I mean, even again, we were talking briefly off air about the fact that the other day I was going through something rather difficult, not in an emotional level, but in a logistical thing. And in the past, I would have
That was a
dialogued
really-
with
oh, hey,
pretty
we
much,
gotta save.
it's like dialogued with pretty much everybody in my sphere and said, what do you think of this? I need your opinion. I need to figure out the, and this time I just went for a drive and I just needed to clear my head with me, myself, and I. And it's like, I don't think that's a bad thing. What it's actually done on a marital level, I guess I'll just put it this way, is that my wife actually made the comment the other day that she now sees times that I'm self-reliant to the point not of like closing her off, but of like it's attractive to her to go, I actually didn't have to
lost my
weigh in on
shotgun.
this because he just had it covered. And it's like, that's kind of a nice thing.
I want my shotgun back. They
You
took
know?
it from me. There you
So
go.
I think that it's, I don't know. I mean, that
Sure, but I also think there's an element of maybe it's a matter of, I mean, I guess in all things it's a matter of change over time rather than just stasis, because nothing actually is stasis.
well, that's true.
So if you're someone who has cultivated a sense of self-reliance for such a long time that that's what people expect of you,
Yeah.
then there isn't any sense of, hey, I appreciate that I didn't have to get involved with this. because people who don't, though they would have already become accustomed to not being involved, so they don't even realize when they would have had to be involved if you weren't there.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's a little bit of the taking for granted the things that you don't think about, you know.
Well, yeah, so it's like, it's one thing, and I mean, we had, I think it was a long time ago, I had the conversation about the attitude of giving and requesting help, and how there is something unpalatable about the idea of offering help to someone who wouldn't understand what you are offering.
Right, if they don't understand the value.
Because it's like, if you don't actually, if you wouldn't have solved this problem yourself, then my solving it for you, you're not going to realize that that's a gift. Like, you wouldn't have, I haven't saved you any effort because you wouldn't have put it in.
Yeah.
So not to say that that means you shouldn't help those people, because there's an altruistic argument perhaps to be made. Oh!
And that's a fair argument.
But there's also, it's understandably less palatable to be like, I'm going to help someone who wouldn't appreciate it. That doesn't make it any less valuable to do, but it is something that makes it a lot harder to do on a personal level, because it's like...
Well, it challenges your motives.
Because there is
what it is. Because if you're doing it for your own... I mean, that's what I had to really come to, is like, okay, why did I make this change? And really, it was for me. So as much as I would love to have people see it, that's not why I did it in the first place.
Sure, I mean, I perfectly understand that, and I think that's...
Okay, I didn't realize you could point straight down.
What happened there?
I was trying to get up underneath it, because my logic was, if I get underneath it, it won't be able to shoot me, but then it just looked straight at my head and was like, hi, bud.
I don't even know where you were, though.
Right here at this little ship, and look, it just doesn't give a crap. It's like...
Is it actually hurting you, though?
I don't know.
Nope, flying. Your ship's not closed. You got the hood open. I don't know.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not suggesting...
Yeah, you don't make changes... Well, it's a bit of a difficult... Because, again, it's true that you don't make changes for the sake of other people, but there is also a part of you that wishes other people would see them anyways.
Right. But I think that is more the natural human condition of saying, on a basic needs level, all humans need some way of feeling connected to some sort of bigger thing, whether it be a group or a individual, but being able to be understood is a basic need, whether that's in a small group of people.
I guess, yeah, I don't know where that ranks in the Maslow's hierarchy.
Well, that's true.
I'm going to see if I can switch back to the fancy graphics, because my glaucoma may be better.
Gone and had some surgery. It's looking, the prognosis looks good.
Are you going to get these cookies out or something? Or? And also, how about the snacks?
Wow.
Ooh, get your cookies out. Oh, wait, I think that's yours. Oof, I got a weird hitch in the get along.
There's 3 left.
Oh.
Oh, no, there's not.
How did you have a full bag? I was about to say, that bag looked full.
There's a whole nother thing.
That was a strange hip thing I had. I don't know what to call it.
I don't know what that is.
It's a weird, I don't know, it's like one of those things where it's like you move in such a way that your like hip locks up and then you have to like pop it almost. That was just uncomfortable. Crawling through sewers now, it looks like, or something akin. Okay,
so, I mean...
So you got the cookies out and then just put them away from me.
Well, I mean...
So Doc Holliday, male, masculine icon. Is that what we're agreed on?
Well, I certainly think, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
it's
evident by the fact that he's the character from the film that everyone remembers.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's not about him.
I think he has some great... Like, despite the fact that they make them one-liners, I think they represent a more holistic picture of his
I don't know that they're exactly
thought
one
process. Well, I mean, like something like the whole "It's a Reckoning" or I was only fooling, I wasn't. Those kinds of things. That's a one-liner-ish.
Not really.
But it's
A
more
one-liner is inherently one line. If it takes a setup, it's not a one-liner.
I think it reveals a deeper narrative of his thought process, maybe, that gives us an idea of, okay,
Yeah.
this is why he is, able to be
Oi, lads.
so collected, And I mean, we've spoken on this before, but there's a degree of, even in this maybe for some people this will offend them because they feel like this somehow cheapens his character, but there's a part of it that, in the same way that you see in Peaky Blinders, because we're going to use that rule today, that everything goes back to that as well. That when you have had such a experience that you have basically already deemed yourself dead, or you're like living on borrowed time, there's a point in which you go, everything else is gravy.
I suppose you could make, I mean, the fact that he's dying in the film.
Right. So he just kind of goes, I mean, everything's a gift at that point. So why not go, whole hog for your friends? Why not? Because it allows you to be the man that you really probably want to be deep down anyway. And it's just most people don't want to take the time or the energy and effort to put it into. And I think,
they were doing awful things to that corpse. Your corpse. They were doing awful things to you.
That's an interesting argument, or at least thought process, is that how many people...
I think every man who watches it and feels a kinship, that's why.
But I would say every man at some level, if you don't feel a kinship to it, it's probably because you're the kind of man that doesn't...
They can die in fire. You're sheltered, is what we're saying.
No, there's a degree of self... I don't even know what to call it. So many people want the result without the process. And I think
everybody, pretty much.
Well, sure. But I think with Doc, you see a bit of the process, if you will, or at least maybe the cost. And that helps to separate the men from the boys to some degree, in that you can't put on a mask in order to recreate this persona, because anyone who does that is going to end up with a cheaper version of the masculinity that you see in Doc Holliday, because it's not rooted in the confidence of the new kind of trajectory your life is going in. If it's just a temporary, I'm going to be a tough guy right now, it's like, well, people see through that. You know what I mean? Well, so the reason why
people maybe not, but real tough guys.
Real men.
If anything, that's the whole point of the movie. It's like there's several people in the movie that
who try to put on that facade, exactly, and then Doc basically calls them out, going,
or any of them really.
Sure. They basically go, okay, we'll tango. That's fine.
But there's also, I think, that was a strange thing to witness happening to you.
That was why did it even happen?
I don't know.
The floor and it was like, your head explode.
But it's the other element is there's it's essentially, I mean, what it really has to come down to is an acknowledgement of, or an acceptance, because obviously in Doc's case he is already dying, so you could argue, well, he's got a slight advantage in getting to that headspace where he's just, he's willing to sacrifice because it's not much of a sacrifice anymore. But there's also the scenes in which basically they all display that to some degree. There's the scene in when they have basically, I'm trying to remember. So when they arrest the leader of the gang after he accidentally shoots the marshal when he's drunk.
Yeah.
And the rest of the gang tries to basically say, well, you're going to let him go. And he's saying, no, I'm not. And so one of the lackeys tries to act tough, and he gets the gun on his head. And they're trying to basically pull the classic villain idea of, you're not man enough to shoot, you won't actually do it. And the guy who's got I like that they don't make Wyatt defend himself in that scene, because he's got the gun to the guy's head, and that guy knows he's going to pull the trigger. So he doesn't have to talk big. He's literally the guy who's got it. He's just like, no, he's not joking, fellas. So it's like there is an element of the only way to get that level of assuredness is to accept on some level. It's like, yep, the rest of your guys may kill you, but I'm going to turn your head into a canoe. That line stuck with me as well.
well, that I think the other thing is, so I just actually on a more serious.
Oh, that was rude. They put a ladder there. I thought that led.
I think the graphics made that 1,000 times
I thought
better.
that led somewhere.
I'm gonna.
Speaking of graphics, I think it updated to the new graphics automatically. Oh, it did. So I guess maybe every level starts with better graphics.
No, this is definitely the old graphics.
No, this is better.
No.
Better than what we just saw? Yes.
This is the new graphics.
This is far from new graphics.
Right here. This is the new.
Oh, wait. Hang on. Okay, it did. I don't think it changed that time, I swear.
No, it did.
That looked the same, though.
Now it cutscene before it changed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way, so I'm going to take it on a more serious note, just because I think I can piggyback off
I felt like
of
we
that.
were serious enough, talking about how every man
well-
secretly is depressed.
Well, that's a fair argument. I mean,
What do the Godfather Bros? What does that say about them? Because essentially, if you look online, the two films that every guy loves is Godfather and Tombstone. Is that not the case? That seems to
Yes.
be like literally.
but I think The Godfather represents.
And some people, at least,
See, the thing is,
criticize the Godfather Bros as being a little bit of the less serious ones.
it's less.
I can't
the
answer that. I've never
reason-
seen The
The
Godfather.
reason that I think that men like that one is because there's something about getting outside of the mundane by serving something greater than yourself. And in The Godfathers, not in a spiritual sense, but like in
Well,
The
sure,
Godfathers,
but
it's like
I guess
there is
being
an
part of a
expectation on this. Exactly. And in
A little bit of that guy's like, I know people would have my back.
Right. Well, not just that, but like there is a higher code here, like which I'm willing to come under, even if it screws me up. Again, I've just been recently.
So basically, what you're saying is any country that doesn't have, or any society without decent religion, devolves into mobs.
Well, I would argue that both are present pretty much always.
Religion and mobs? I think they're proportional. I think the
That's
lack
what I'm
of
saying.
I think the lack of one gives rise to the other.
Sure.
Because the argument would be that if you had
exclusive either, like I
maybe
think
not
that-
inherently, but I think they both the fact that they both fill a need, they can't both be filling the same need at the same time. They have to be one has to be capitalizing the market where the other one is lacking.
Sure.
Because the argument that was made is, for example,
What just happened there? Did you see her head go back like she'd been shot in the head? That was weird. It was supposed to be a shocked face, but she literally just went.
A local tap.
I didn't see it.
Anyway, I don't know how we got on the mob. I was saying.
Well,
on a more
you're talking about
serious
The Godfather
note-
versus
no, I was
Tombstone.
talking about the more serious note, and I
If
said,
a guy says his favorite film's Tombstone, he's the better guy than the Godfather guy. I'm just going to say that. I think I'm probably all right with that.
I don't think you can say that without having seen the films.
Well, I've seen one of them, and I'm willing to bet that Godfather's not better than Tombstone. I understand cinematically you might make an argument that it's more like artistically made, but I'm saying on the core of the story itself,
I wouldn't agree.
I can't imagine Godfather being better than Tombstone.
I would.
And I actually thought Tombstone was really well made as well.
It was good. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was very good.
Tombstone was high for me.
Oh, I agree. It was like
So I don't,
4.5.
I don't think Godfather will beat it. Because in order to get to that level, it's got to be more than just cinematically great. And I understand people talking about how it's cinematically great. But, like, there's plenty of films that are cinematically great that I'm just like, I'm not...
Just when I thought I got out,
I'm not
they
gripped.
pulled me back in. No, what I was getting at was I was watching a film, or not a film, a video that actually separated basically the title of the video was a alpha male in quotes trying to or getting embarrassed by actual alpha males, like, and this guy
I find this discourse cringeworthy.
Oh, it was the actual discussion. It was basically a panel of what does like manhood mean, and there was this guy that was jacked
Suffering without
being a
sook.
yeah, without whining and griping. There was two different groups. One
I just thought of a really dark,
like quippy.
well, yeah, quippy, but
hippie
kind of dark campaign slogan for that. Just quit your bitch and get your pins. Just eat it.
Yeah, I mean, so there was two very different kinds of men there, and what they were trying to basically argue out was what does real manhood look like. And one of the guys, they were actually the discussion became kind of materialism versus non. And
Of course.
this one group of guys was arguing, okay, substance is better than this facade of, well, I have all this stuff, so now that makes me a good man. And this one guy is trying to argue that as long as you're rich and you're, yoked and you've got all this, like you've got your crap together, then that makes you a real man. And it was such a thin argument already,
Well,
but then
I can understand
I
it's
get-
surface level because one of the elements would be, okay, the capacity to acquire and provide is part of it,
yes,
but it can't be all of it.
well, and it can't also be contingent upon what others' perspective on that is.
Well, sure, but I don't think it has to be. I mean, I think the
Well,
argument is...
by nature of materialism, I almost feel like it is.
Well, no, because the argument wouldn't be that it has to be you've got to have just all the money ever. It's saying if you have to provide, that's a part of it. Ensuring that you have but I guess maybe this is the nuance of it that perhaps was lacking, having not seen it. This is what Jordan Peterson talks about, is it isn't the stuff, it's the capacity to achieve
It's
the
capability,
stuff.
yes.
So it's saying it's not about being rich, it's about having the capacity to become rich.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
but
matters.
That's not what this other guy was arguing. And so literally he gets into this argument, and the one guy starts going, look, it's about, being able to provide. It's about, being able to come home and look your kids in the face and know you're a good dad because of the fact that you're investing in contexts of, this, that, the
There's
other
a
thing.
song that I should show you.
And that basically it's terrible because this guy starts it
There's my
devolves
shotgun again.
at the point that he starts losing the argument. I'm not going to be able to really abbreviate it much better than this because I think if I try to go into too much
Well,
detail, it's
any
gonna
ad
be-
hominem, who
But-
is it? Socrates or someone saying...
Yes, he
once-
literally, it devolves, once the opponent's losing, then he devolves into, what is it?
Ad hominem or slander or whatever.
Slander, yeah. And that's literally what happened. He starts like, oh, well, but look at you. You're like over there fat. The guy shouldn't have boobs and shirt. And this guy starts literally going, we're not even talking about that, dude. Can you answer my freaking question? Like, because, and it became such a, like, I
where did
felt
you
like
come
I
from?
was watching a bunch of junior hires argue.
Well, you
not
were.
on his level, or I'm not on the guy that was responding, but on this this guy was trying to basically say, real men don't look like that, and they drive this. How much money do you make? Like, I need to know if you can't speak to this unless you make this much money. And the guy's like, that's not okay. That's not true. Like, and so it just, his argument fell apart so quickly, and it was just embarrassing, because what it highlights is, getting back to the whole Doc Holliday thing, is what it highlights is there are going to be men that try to put on the facade of being a confident and capable and competent male, but the reality is the ones that aren't threatened because they genuinely are that are going to go, what are you doing? What are you trying to, who are you trying to convince, yourself? Like, it's humorous, and as somebody who has walked through that on a journey level, when I see it in others, it's embarrassing, really. It's like, you just go, put that away. I'm not going to measure with you, so let's not. You know what I mean? It's at the point that it's a little bit like when I first learned martial arts. It's like, at the point that you know what you're doing is the point that you don't have to prove you know what you're doing. You know? I don't know if that makes sense.
I think we now need to do like a BuzzFeed style. We need to do a poll of what is the most common favorite movies of men, and then provide psychological profiles.
But could you? How about you respond to that?
Well, I don't know.
First, I'm just saying, like, I don't know what.
Well, I didn't see this video you're talking about, so I can't comment specifically.
Like,
I mean, I don't disagree on.
Again, Doc Holliday representing the more actual masculinity versus.
I brought it up, so I don't need to comment. I already did.
Well, but I'm saying I think we both said that is why he is such a prolifically popular figure among men specifically. I think is because.
Well, is that he basically takes his licks and gives them just as good.
Takes his licks and doesn't.
Oh well, I mean that's part. I think there is a inherent respectability, I think, amongst healthy men for the guy who you know is dealing with some crap, but is just keeping it cool. Like, there's an inherent respect about that. Because there are circumstances in which you can be under such strain that lashing out is understandable, and it doesn't like have to be seen as weakness, because there's a level of difficulty that you kind of just have to give people credit for. It's like, okay, sure, I won't criticize you for dealing with this poorly, because there really isn't a great way of dealing with it well.
Right.
But there's also something to be said for those who you can tell are dealing with it as best they can. So there's an element of, that it's not to say that if you don't do that, you are disqualified from, being a... is that me or you again?
That's you.
But there is something about that. So it's like, okay, being someone taking basically a crappy circumstance that you didn't have any control over and just sort of going, yep, there's nothing I can do but deal with it, and there's something to be said for that.
Well, it's again taking the bull by the horns, because the reality is you really have no other option. I mean, life spins on, so you can either get on or just kind of take a backseat.
Well, sure, but you can get on while being bitter and nasty about it.
Yeah,
it's like,
but
well,
I'm
then
saying
that sort of cheapens you don't have as much respect for those guys. It's like, yeah, sure, you're dealing with it, but I don't feel like being around you when you're dealing with it, because you're not pleasant. Whereas people who manage to keep their cool while also dealing with difficulty, it's like those are the people you want around, because not only are they going to deal with their own difficulty, they'll help you deal with yours.
I feel like the people that get bitter and nasty, though, are not accepting that they are in control of their own responses.
I'd actually
they are in control of
yes
their
and no.
own.
I think there's an element of acknowledging that you're not in control. There's an element to which that's
not in control of maybe the situation, but you're certainly in control of your response to said situation.
True.
I mean, and that's, I think, again, that's the part in which if you take responsibility in the kind of truest stoic sense, if you take responsibility for the things that you are responsible for, that's the first step in saying, okay, now I've done everything I can do. Everything else is not my concern. I mean,
Yeah, but it's beyond that, because sometimes just because you can't change it doesn't mean it doesn't negatively affect you.
no, I mean.
So
of
the
course
next
it-
step above that is to say, is to accept the control over what you have control over, and then also to accept that which you don't have control, which means not being bitter about it.
Right.
You just go, it's a little bit, you kind of have to just develop a Job-like, yep, I'm suffering for no reason. And I'm just going to accept that that's the way it is, because that's the way it is. And it's like, there is an element of, I don't know, respect for that, but
Yeah.
goodness, I didn't expect this would be a full episode's worth of a topic, so
Well, hey,
turned out to be a better one than I thought. Tombstone's a great movie.
it is.
And if your boyfriend says he loves Tombstone, he probably just needs a hug.